Do you struggle navigating tough conversations at work or in your personal life? Do you find yourself avoiding difficult conversations because you are unsure how to approach them? Do you want to learn how to have them with grace, confidence, and compassion? And about effective strategies for dealing with challenging individuals and tough topics? Are you ready to transform conflict into opportunities for growth and understanding? Join me after the intro as we reflect on how to navigate difficult conversations. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's start. Hi, I'm Rossana D, and this is Forgive and Thrive, a podcast where we explore what thriving in life means and how we can achieve it, irrespective of our past, current condition, and expectations that those around us or society in general may have. Let's go. Welcome to the Forgive and Thrive show. Today we are diving headfirst into a topic that makes almost everyone squirm: difficult conversations. Let's be honest, who actually enjoys them, right? I know I don't. Just the thought of them can send my heart rate soaring and my stomach churning. We all been there, stuck in a conversation that feels like walking on eggshells. Maybe it's a disagreement with a loved one, a tense situation at work, or even just a harmless but awkward discussion that just goes sideways. We have all been there, faced with the daunting prospect of navigating through tough talks that have the potential to either strengthen relationships or leave them fractured. But here's the thing: difficult conversations, as scary as they may seem, are an inevitable part of life. And guess what? They don't have to be relationship-ruining disasters. In fact, navigating them effectively can actually strengthen your bonds, clear the air, and even lead to positive change. I'm not going to lie, I used to dread these situations, but over time I've learned some communication hacks that have completely transformed how I approach them. And that's exactly what we are going to talk about today. So, first of all, why are difficult conversations so difficult to tackle? Well, you may say because they are uncomfortable, of course. Yes, they are. But there is more to it. In fact, there might be many reasons why we may be postponing or even avoiding difficult conversations. And if we understand what is making challenging for us to navigate them, then we might find ways to navigate them, right? So the number one is fear. Fear can be a significant reason to avoid tough conversations. So, for example, fear of conflict. We naturally want to avoid conflict and maintain harmony in our relationships. Difficult conversation can feel like a threat to that harmony, leading us to avoid them or downplay the issue at hand. That said, the fact is, if there is an issue, that issue doesn't solve itself by avoiding it. And worse than that, it could become a bigger challenge if not addressed. Another reason is fear of the outcome, and that can make us feel anxious. We might worry about damaging the relationship, not being heard, or that the conversation may escalate. But the truth is that we can't predict the outcome of a difficult conversation. Apart from fear, we might lack the skills to communicate and express ourselves clearly, listen actively, and navigate emotional situations constructively, have doubts about our ability to handle the conversation effectively. The bad news is that the only way to dissipate those doubts is to practice those difficult conversations when they arise. But the good news is communicating well is a skill, and a skill that can be learned. So, first of all, how do we approach a difficult conversation? Well, difficult conversations are first and foremost sensitive conversations that need to be approached with sensitivity. If you have been following our work with the Forgive and Thrive podcast, you may know that many of the conversations we have had are sensitive. So I had to practice on this. Based on almost 3 years of having sensitive conversations, I've learned that they require to exercise respect, to stay open-minded, to practice patience, empathy, and active listening. All this creates a safe and supportive environment so everyone feels empowered to express their thoughts and feelings without the fear of being judged or any reprisal. Establishing this foundation of trust is absolutely crucial for navigating difficult topics with grace and empathy. An often dismissed aspect, especially in difficult or worse-heated conversation, is vulnerability. Vulnerability is often pictured as a form of weakness, but it couldn't be further from the truth because it is rather a testament to our strength and self-awareness, because vulnerability requires acknowledging and accepting our own limitations, our fears, and our imperfections, and being willing to share them with others. Embracing vulnerability in general, and especially in the midst of difficult conversation, is a profound act of courage and authenticity. It entails a willingness to expose your true thoughts, feelings, and insecurities, even when faced with discomfort and uncertainty. Rather than avoiding difficult topics or resorting to defensiveness, embracing vulnerability allows us to engage in meaningful dialogue, honest communication, and empathetic listening. Because when we express our perspectives, concerns, and emotions openly, we create a safe space for others to do the same. Another element that contributes to creating a safe environment is trust. Trust provides a solid foundation for productive dialogue and constructive conflict resolution. In the face of disagreement, tension, or conflict, trust serves as the bedrock upon which meaningful communication can happen. Trust is built about a foundation of honesty, integrity, and authenticity. In the context of difficult conversation, it requires a willingness to be vulnerable and transparent, even when discussing sensitive or contentious topics. When people feel that they can trust one another to speak truthfully and respectfully, they are more likely to engage openly and honestly in dialogue, fostering mutual understanding and respect. Once we are in the position of creating a safe and supportive environment, what other strategies can we use to successfully navigate these conversations? A key strategy is to start by acknowledging the emotional toll they carry, like anger, fear, and sadness. By validating these emotions and creating space for them to be expressed openly and respectfully, we can avoid tension and foster understanding, even when you and the other party have different opinions. Difficult conversations are as much as about talking as they are about active listening and learning about the other person's perspectives. At the heart of active listening is a genuine curiosity and openness to understanding the other person's point of view. Active listening goes beyond simply hearing words. It involves fully immersing oneself in the speaker's message, understanding their emotions, and grasping the underlying meaning behind their words. This can be challenging, especially when we are in difficult conversations, because we all have our beliefs and conditioning from our past experiences and the people in our life. And we may be blinded by wanting to make our point or our views accepted by the other person. But setting aside our personal biases, being open to challenge those beliefs and assumptions, and recognizing that there may be more than one valid viewpoint on any given issue can really help us approach any discussion with humility and curiosity. Active listening is a skill useful in every situation, but takes time to learn. Because often, instead of being there absorbing what the other person is telling us, we are there thinking about what we have to say next, how to respond to their point. If you find that your mind wanders while listening to someone, then you are not really actively listening. A useful practice is to summarize some of the points they have made. It's a way to support and check your understanding and shows to the other person your willingness to truly get what they are saying and thinking, and that brings trust. Similarly to active listening, empathy allows us to step into the shoes of the other person, to feel what they feel, and to see the world from their perspective. Empathy plays a complementary role in the listening process because it enables us to connect with the other person on an emotional level. By empathizing with their feelings and experiences, we demonstrate that we care about their well being and are invested in their perspective. This creates a sense of trust and safety, encouraging the speaker to open up and share more freely. Active listening and empathy help diffusing tension and fostering constructive dialogue. Because when emotions run high and opinions diverge, it can be easy to become defensive or even argumentative. By practicing active listening and empathy, we can instead create a space for mutual understanding and respect, build trust, and uncover the underlying needs and concerns driving the conversation. Another good strategy, which is connected to active listening, is asking clarifying questions. As it happens when we summarize their point of view, by asking questions that clarify points that we might not have fully understood, we show that we want to understand the underlying motivations and concerns driving the conversation. This requires patience, empathy, and a genuine desire to connect with others on a deeper level. A useful mindset to have when navigating difficult conversation is the openness to seek understanding rather than an agreement. Because it's quite natural when we feel strong about something that touches us deeply at the emotional level to try and persuade the other person to adopt our viewpoints or even insisting to reach a consensus. This might be counterproductive and possibly lead to tensions, which, quite frankly, is the last thing we want to achieve during a difficult conversation. Sometimes agreeing to disagree while embracing the pursuit of understanding allows us for a deeper level of engagement and connection, even in the face of disagreement. Building resilience is also crucial to navigate tough conversations. Resilience helps us maintaining a sense of optimism and hope and enables us to navigate these situations and challenges in general with grace and determination. Resilience is the capacity to bounce back from challenges and setbacks with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. In difficult conversations, resilience enables us to navigate conflict and disagreement without becoming discouraged or disheartened. It helps us maintaining a sense of perspective, focusing on solutions rather than obstacles, and remaining open to learning and growth. One of the key components of resilience is emotional intelligence, which involves recognizing and managing one's own emotions as well as understanding the emotions of others. To show emotional intelligence, we need to cultivate self-awareness and self-regulation, because this way we can respond to challenging situations with empathy and compassion rather than reacting defensively or aggressively. This promotes a sense of calm and stability even in the midst of conflict. Other key components of resilience are willingness to persevere in the face of adversity, willingness to learn from setbacks, and willingness to adapt to changing circumstances. This means cultivating a growth mindset, which makes us embracing the opportunities for learning and personal development that difficult conversations present. By engaging in difficult conversation with a growth mindset, we can actually come out of that conversation stronger than we were before. Having an inclusive attitude is also paramount when engaging in difficult conversation, as it lays the groundwork for open dialogue, mutual respect, and constructive conflict resolution, and creates an atmosphere where everybody feels valued, respected, and heard. One of the fundamental elements of creating an inclusive environment is establishing ground rules that may include guidelines for communication. Some of these guidelines may include refraining from interrupting the other person and not giving them the opportunity to express their thoughts, using I statements to express thoughts and feelings, avoiding being judgmental of them, but rather focusing on the situation. When we feel strong about our point of view and we want to impose it, we may conduct the conversation with "you did this" kind of expressions and accusations. They won't help building compassion, empathy, mutual respect, or achieving a good resolution, unfortunately. So instead of that, It's better to focus on what happened in conjunction with I statement and expressing how we feel about it. For example, a good way to express it is when this thing happens, I feel this way. This is powerful because it shows empowerment and vulnerability without accusing or blaming them. It's about acknowledging our triggers. This is also a crucial aspect of navigating difficult conversations effectively and compassionately because emotions play a significant role in shaping our responses and behaviors, especially when discussing sensitive or contentious topics. By setting clear expectations for behaviors, both parties can feel confident that their contribution will be met with respect and consideration. We also need to be fully aware of our boundaries and setting them clearly. And identifying our triggers can point to boundaries that are perhaps not set properly. If you want to learn more about boundaries, check my conversation with Heather Klaus on this very topic. The link is in the description. Sometimes, even when both parties employ all these strategies and are willing to achieve a resolution, the conversation can reach an impasse and no progress is made. A healthy way forward is, first of all, to recognize when that happens and then to assess whether it's appropriate to step back and revisit this topic at a later time. This is healthy because it gives us the opportunity, on one hand, to avoid saying something that we may regret in an attempt to win the argument, and on the other, to reflect on what the other person has told us and weigh how they felt against our own feelings and emotions. That reflection helps us identifying the underlying causes of our emotional reactions and choosing a constructive way to express ourselves when navigating the follow-up conversation. That said, what should we be aware of that could jeopardize the communication? It is important to be mindful of power dynamics that may influence the conversation. This includes recognizing and addressing forms of inequality that can impact participants' ability to engage fully. Creating an inclusive space where all voices are valued and heard is essential for fostering meaningful dialogue and understanding. Another aspect is lack of willingness to finding common ground and seeking constructive solutions. While it's natural for disagreement to arise, focusing on areas of agreement and shared values can help bridge divides and move the conversation forward. Not taking care of ourselves can affect our judgment and our ability to stay calm and convey clearly how we feel. Difficult conversations can be emotional, taxing, and mentally draining, and it's essential to prioritize our well-being in order to sustain our capacity for empathy, resilience, and creativity. This may involve practicing mindfulness, setting boundaries, and seeking support from friends, family, or mental health professional if needed. So we have created a safe and inclusive environment for everybody to express their feelings, thoughts, and beliefs openly. We have exercised respect for the other person and emotional intelligence. We have sought understanding and common ground instead of imposing our point of view. What comes next? What's the best way to end the conversation? Well, as much as dialogue and understanding are important, it's equally important to take action and accountability and make sure that the conversation leads to tangible outcomes and positive change, and translate any insights and agreements into concrete actions that address underlying issues and promote growth and progress. The first step is to identify actionable steps and setting clear goals for moving forward. That means brainstorming solutions, prioritizing key issues, and developing a plan of actions that outlines specific tasks, timelines, and responsibilities. By breaking down complex problems into manageable steps, we can create a roadmap for addressing challenges, implementing meaningful change, and monitoring progress towards achieving the desired outcomes. This is one of the things I struggle with because I put so much energy on the conversation that I'm glad when even discussing about possible solutions seems good enough. But then inevitably, I regret it because I'm left with more questions than answers. What should I do now? Am I going to take the next step? Are they? And so on and so forth. It can become consuming. So it is important to actively engage in identifying a proper action plan with roles and responsibilities so nobody is left hanging with unanswered questions. The more detailed you can be at this stage, the better you and the other person will feel afterwards. Understand how to implement that plan, how you will monitor progress, and how you will evaluate the outcomes, but also how to adapt and course correct in response to feedback and changing circumstances. This may feel uncomfortable at first, but think about it. In order to implement any plan, you and the other person will need to partner and work together, which requires a commitment to achieving shared goals and objectives while helping to build trust and promote transparency. Difficult conversations are dynamic and evolving processes, and it's important to remain flexible and open-minded as new information emerges and priorities shift. This may require revisiting and revising action plans, seeking additional input, and being willing to make adjustments when needed. Difficult conversations are an inevitable part of life, as we said earlier, but they don't have to be daunting obstacles. By embracing empathy, active listening, and vulnerability, we can create a safe and inclusive space for dialogue, even when the topics are tough. With the right strategies, they can serve as powerful opportunities for growth, connection, and positive change. Remember, it's not about avoiding conflict, but rather about navigating it with courage and compassion. And with this in mind, I want to leave you with a quote from Winston Churchill, who said, "Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen." We would love to know what you think about this topic. How do you navigate difficult conversation? Do you have perhaps strategies and tips that we didn't discuss here? If so, let us know in the comment below. Also, please continue supporting us by liking and sharing this video to anyone who could benefit from it, because this is really the only way you can support our work and mission of creating a more inclusive and supporting world. Also, engage with us on our social media. You will find all the links in the description of today's episode. Hopefully not, but if you've been affected in any way by the topic we discussed today, as always, I invite you to seek professional help. Join me next time when we will continue exploring inspiring and challenging situations. Because remember, we are together in this journey. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this content, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell and like this video. See you in the next one.